Most psychological thrillers don't fail at the beginning. They fail in the middle. They died in that long grey stretch where you have already played your best card, your premise, and now you are trying to keep the reader scared without turning the book into a soap opera with a creepy soundtrack. And that is when you start doing what every writer does when they are stuck. You add stuff. A new clue, a new conversation, a new omnibus moment, another scene of the protagonist staring at the wall thinking, what is happening to me? And the reader feels that. They don't say it aloud, but they feel the truth underneath your chapters. Nothing is tightening. The story is moving, but it is not closing. So here's what we are fixing today. Because a psychological thriller is not a chain of creepy events, it is a trap. A trap closes in one direction. It doesn't wander. It tightens. And if you have a strong beat sheet, one built for psychological pressure, doubt, and identity collapse, your book cannot sag. It literally can't. So today I'm giving you the tool that solves the middle, solves pacing, and making your ending feel inevitable instead of random. The 15-bit sheet for psychological thrillers is what's coming next. This isn't a generic screenplay list. This is a thriller engine. By the end of this episode, you'll have a 15-bit roadmap you can apply to any thriller premise, a pressure ladder that tells you what to escalate next when you get stuck, and a live example where we take a premise and map the entire book in real time. And of course, you already guessed it, yes will be homework, because if you don't write the beats, you don't have a structure. You have hope. Let's build the trap. If you are new here, welcome to Zero to Novel. This is a 12-episode workshop where we build your psychological thriller from scratch. Not theory, not tips, a build. In episode 01, we found an idea that scares: identity threat, doubt, escalation. In episode 02, we designed the wound, your protagonists' lie, mask, and secret. In episode 3, we built the antagonist, villains who are not evil, just right. Now in episode 4 is where we do the thing most writers avoid because it feels like homework. We structure the book, and I get it. A structure sounds like a spreadsheet. It sounds like it will ruin the magic, but that is the secret. A structure doesn't kill creativity. A structure protects it. Because when you know where the trap is tightening, you stop writing filler. You stop writing scenes that feel cool but don't move pressure. You start writing chapters that have teeth. Now, one quick thing before we go into the bit. A psychological thriller has a different promise than an action thriller. It isn't, can the hero survive the bad guy? It is, can the hero survive what the truth will do to their identity? That's why the bits are different. So we are going to start with the contract. When a reader clicks a psychological thriller, they sign a contract. They might not know they signed it, but they did. They want doubt, not just danger. They want pressure, options shrinking, exits disappearing. They want isolation. The protagonist becomes harder to help and harder to believe. They want reversal. The meaning of events flips. And they want truth, a payoff that recontextualizes the whole book. Here's the rule that governs the entire bit sheet. Every bit must do one of two things: increase doubt or shrink options. If a scene does neither, it might be beautifully written, great atmosphere, great voice, but it is nothing tightening. It is stalling. And that's the middle depth. So as we go through the 15 bits, I want you to imagine two invisible meters on the screen. A doubt meter. How much can the protagonist trust perception, memory, motive? An option meter. How many exits do they still have, socially, legally, emotionally, physically? Every bit pushes one up or pushes one down. That is the engine. Most bit sheets you see online are built for external conflict, chases, fights, set pieces. Psychological thrillers don't live there. Your set pieces are a conversation that turns like a blade, a foul that shouldn't exist, a person who smiles while they control you, a system that calmly labels you unreliable, a memory that shifts by half an inch and makes your whole life feel staged. So this 15-bit sheet is built for credibility collapsed, social control, identity threat, and the slow removal of escape routes. Now let's build it. And I am going to do this in a way you can actually see. Each bit will have what it does, what it should feel like, and a quick checklist so you can write it. We start with the protagonist functioning, not thriving, functioning. They have a routine, a role, a way of presenting fine. But underneath is the wound from episode 2. The lie they believe, the mask they wear, the secret they protect, often from themselves. This bit isn't show their day. It is show what it cost them to be normal, because that cost is what the thriller would exploit. So here's the checklist. What are they controlling to feel safe? What topic do they avoid? What behavior reveals a strain over politeness, rigid routine, obsessive checking? What do they refuse to remember? Let's check bit 2. Now you introduce the disturbance, small enough to dismiss, wrong enough to itch. A letter, a file, a voicemail, a photo, a timestamp, a stranger using a private name. The key? It must be deniable. If it's too big too early, you remove doubt. Everyone becomes certain. The genre loses its bloodstream. So this is the checklist. What is the wrong detail? Why can't it be rationalized? What does it imply if it's true? Next is going to be bit number 3. Now the protagonist does what real people do. They protect the mask, they minimize, they avoid, they don't tell the one person they should tell. And this is crucial. The denial should come from the wound, because later when the trap tightens, it won't feel like author manipulation. It will feel like psychology. So this is the checklist. What is the first wrong choice? What evidence do they fail to preserve? Who do they not tell and why? Let's do bit 4. Now they test the disturbance. A quick check, a rational question, a search. And reality pushes back with contradiction. No violence, not a monster, contradiction. The system says, yes, this is real. A friend says, we already talked about that. A record says, you signed it. And the pushback is often polite, which is worse. Polite contradiction creates doubt. Aggression creates certainty. So this is the checklist for this bit. What proof fails? Who contradicts them? What new doubt is introduced? Next is bit number 5. Here the story changes. It stops being a weird thing happened and becomes, what does this mean about me? This is the question that drags the protagonist forward when logic says stops. Some examples. Did they do something I don't remember? Is someone building a case against me? Why is the system so confident? Why is everyone acting like I am the problem? This is where the reader bonds, because now the reader isn't watching events. They are participating in the question. Let's have a look at bit number 6. Now we escalate from external weirdness to internal danger. The disturbance implies something identity-threatening. You have been here before. You confessed. You are diagnosed. You are in the photo. You wrote it. This bit is visceral. Shame, panic, anger, nausea. Something that makes the protagonist feel contaminated. Because the core fear here isn't, I might die. It is, I might be wrong about who I am. Bit number 7, someone offers help. And in this genre, help is never neutral. Help comes with control, with labels, with documentation, with procedure. This is where you plant the antagonist pressure system without ever announcing a villain. The offer can be sincere, it can be for your well-being, but it costs something. Let me give you a quick checklist for this bit. Who offers help? What do they gain if the protagonist accepts? What do they ask for in return? Let's have a look at bit number 8. Now the protagonist makes a choice that feels sensible and closes a door behind them. Signs a form, hands over a device, confides in the wrong person, deletes something, agrees to an assessment. The key, it must be logical in the moment. That's how you make the trap feel inevitable. Bit number 9, this is the pivot, not bigger action, bigger implication. Midpoint reveals in psychological thrillers often look like proof appears that makes the protagonist look guilty. The ally becomes suspicious. The villain reveals itself as a system. A memory collapses, something they were sure about is false. A document, photo, tape places them somewhere they swear they never been. Midpoint is where the reader sits forward, because now the question turns uglier. Bit number 10, now reliability becomes the battlefield. They get labeled unstable, obsessive, delusional, dangerous, liable. Once labeled, even truth sounds like manipulation. This is how you isolate them without ever looking at all. So bit number 11, pressure reveals patterns. This is where your episode or 2 lines pays off. When my protagonist is scared, they always, if you remember that was part of the homework, always denies, always control, always run, always lie, always people please, always lash out. This bit is the psychological chase scene. The reader watches them run inside their own head. Bit number 12. Now the story removes the easy exits. They lose proof, lose allies, lose access, lose reputation. Sometimes they lose the most dangerous thing of all, confidence in their own perception. The line in their heads becomes, maybe they are right. Door shuts, no going back. Bit number 13, not hope, insight. A pattern clicks, a connection forms, a fragment align. The protagonist realizes what actually is happening or what they have been doing to themselves. This is where they stop reacting and start planning. But the plan should cost something. Truth always costs something. Bit 14, the climax in a psychological thriller is often not fists. It is a choice. The antagonist offers a bargain. Accept my version of reality and you can have peace. The protagonist must choose between comfort versus truth, safety versus identity, silence versus exposure, compliance versus autonomy. That is the genre's real violence. And finally, bit 15. Now the truth lands, and it recontextualizes everything. A good twist doesn't feel like a trick, it feels like inevitable the reader couldn't see until now. Then you leave an aftertaste, a quiet image, a small detail, a final line that makes the whole book feel haunted. Let's do it with a premise you can immediately picture. This is the premise. A woman receives a patient file about herself, dated 5 years ago, from a hospital she's never visited. Now watch. Bit 1. Mask, control life, careful routine, tightly manage identity. Bit 2. Wrong detail, file has correct date of birth, stamps, signatures. Bit 3. Denial, hides it, tells no one, rationalizes, clerical error. Bit 4. The test, hospital confirms admission, records show signatures. Bit 5. Question. If I wasn't admitted, who do they have a file? This is bit number 6. Identity threat. File describes episodes and risk behavior. Bit 7. Help. Doctors offers assessment to clear it up. This is bit number 8. Trap. She agrees. Now she is in the system. Bit 9. Midpoint. Footage of someone who looks like her entering a ward. Bit 10. The label. Partner-employer here, assessment. Narrative shifts. Bit 11. Spiral. Obsession. Boundary crossing. Looks unstable. Bit 12. All is lost. File lost. Doctor denies statements. Bit 13. Reframe. Proof in all archives suggests long pattern. Bit 14. Choice. Accept diagnosis and stop digging or lose everything. And of course, bit 15. Reveal. Truth, identity theft, buried memory, or stage reality. Do you see what structure did? It didn't add events. It engineered a tightening. That's why your middle stops dying. When you get stuck, don't ask what happened next. Ask what gets tighter next. Use this ladder. Information pressure, contradiction, missing record, change detail. Social pressure, distrust, reputation damage, ally erosion. System pressure, procedures, labels, paperwork, compliance. Intimacy pressure, love used as leverage, betrayal, manipulation. Identity pressure, proof of guilt and reliability, you are not who you think. If you escalate it in this order, you book titans without needing action filler. So here's some homework for you guys. And we are going to do this in 3 parts. A. Write your premise in 1 sentence. B. Fill the 15 bits with 1 sentence each. Ugly is fine. Dirty is fine too. C. Write your midpoint reversal as 1 line. For example, halfway through, the protagonist learns something which changes the meaning of something else. Post your midpoint in the comments. And please like, comment, and subscribe, because episode 5 is where we turn this bit sheet into a chapter by chapter outline you can actually draft from without stalling. So there you go, guys. See you later. I hope you enjoy. And if you did, as I said, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in episode number 5. See you then.